Okay, let me see. All right. I think, let me say hello to everyone. Okay. All right. Thank you, partner. We've had some technical. How you doing? Now they're coming in. Okay. So now everyone can see us. So those of you who are still here, initially, what was it, Miss Hairston? You couldn't hear me?
Right. And then you
I,
couldn't hear me.
oh, so
Technology, technology is so unpredictable now with these different
yes,
platforms. You never know what's going to happen. Then you
yes,
just roll with it.
you roll with it. So that's okay. Um, Thank you, folks, for sticking around. They were sending me messages in the chat that they couldn't hear us or see us, and so they're that's good. Thank you, partner, for letting me know. Folks, please hit the like button. How you doing, Lucinda? They're all coming in. They're all coming in now. Share the stream out, folks. Miss Harrison's taking time out of her busy schedule, and again, I've started reading her book, Becoming Dynamic. It is amazing. The parts I have read, I haven't completed it yet. I will. And most of you know I'm an avid reader. I'm always trying to, improve as a human being in general. But I like learning, how to do things the right way. And, a lot of what Miss Harrison has been sharing, I'm guilty as well. Uh, and Miss Harrison, you were raised properly. I was raised properly, but when you're around people, and sometimes their behaviors can rub off on you. And so the last time that you were here, I started thinking, I'm trying to, say, thank you and welcome. And sometimes I catch myself, if I do something for someone and they don't say thank, I'll say, you're welcome, you know. So we're all guilty of that. And that we all have room for improvement. How K-Tay? K-Tay's here. So they're coming back in, thank goodness. And, um, you know, it's important for all of us, to try to improve as human beings. And as long as we're on this earth, we should be striving for that, as well. So, um, from her book, list of quotes of Becoming Dynamic, 7 compelling strategies for success. We've been talking about her very first quote. I asked, why settle for good when you can become dynamic? And I equate a lot of these quotes, I actually have incorporated into my classroom, and I tell my students, like if someone just turned something and they just threw together, I'm like, that's unacceptable. So that's why I understand, all of these quotes, because in some form or fashion, I have to use them. For someone just trying to throw something together to get a C, that's unacceptable. So now that everyone has returned, um, could you talk about why shouldn't we settle? Why shouldn't we settle for good? Why do we need to be dynamic?
Lynn, as I said earlier, people do what they know, and we have to meet people where they are. And my book meets people where they are. If there if there are some things that you did not learn as you were growing up, as you were coming up in life, my book is the answer to that. Why settle for good when you could become dynamic? Life has sometimes caused us to just settle because we haven't had a model of what good looks like.
Right.
Becoming dynamic, 7 compelling strategies for success gives you the model of what good looks like, what greatness looks like. I am a life coach and a professional development coach. What I do is bring out the greatness that lives inside of you. All of that greatness that life and situations have tried to rob you of. I have developed a strategy and tactics to be able to have you capture those to help you become dynamic.
Okay. Sounds good to me. One of your second quote: "Success is excellent without excuses, responsibility without compromise." That's deep. Could you expound upon that a little bit?
So many times we make excuses
Yeah.
about the greatness that lives inside of us. We make excuses. Sometimes we make so many excuses, we fail to complete the things that we can complete. I happen to believe that you should live by the motto, I can, I shall, I will, I must be successful at any and everything I do. So my book talks about success is excellence without excuses. Never make excuses for anything that is in your power to achieve. And most things that you achieve, most things is within your grasp for you to achieve, but you happen to make excuses for why. Let's talk about how you can get something done and stop talking about why you can't get something done. Let's move away from excuses. Take responsibility for your actions. Step up to the plate and say, I am up to the challenge and I am going to succeed at everything that I set out to do. And you can, because you have the ability to do that. You see, God has given you the ability to do any and everything that you
Yeah.
want. It is within you. But you know what? We have a tendency to allow people to douse our enthusiasm, to douse our dreams and hope aspirations. So the only time somebody can take something from you is if you allow them to do so, because many of the people that's good to you is not necessarily good for you. And if they're not going into the same direction that you're going, many times you have to leave them behind, not physically leave them behind, not stop loving the people that you love, but sometimes you have to emotionally release them from you so that you can achieve the things that brings out the greatness in your life.
X. Definitely true statement. Oh wow. Your impact is presence in motion.
Your impact is presence in motion, has everything to do with you as the individual. It places success in your hands. It places responsibility for your success in your hands. In my training, I actually educate my clients on how to enter a room to make impact, how you work the room. The impact you make is presence in motion. You make an impact by your mere presence because you have your professional image intact. You are dressed professionally, you are communicating effectively, and you are building relationships strategically. When you are in those settings, your main purpose is to build strategic influencers, strategic partners, and influences that's going to help you along the way. So you see, no man or woman is an island. You cannot do those things that you set out to accomplish and achieve in life by yourself. You're going to have to bring influencers and strategic partners along to help you reach your goals. So when you say your impact is in motion, how many times have you been in an event and someone stands up to say to you who they are and what they do, and you don't remember a word they say? They think they've made impact. They haven't made impact because you don't remember what they say. In my book, I help you identify those power words that help people remember who you are. They remember who you are by your value system. And I have a system where you work through your value system so you can understand how to embellish those verbally and non-verbally. When I talk about non-verbal, 80% of communication much of the time is nonverbal. So people are observing what you're doing and how you're doing, and they're making a decision whether they're going to do business with you or they're going to have you be a part of the team. So you want to use your image and your influence in a very positive way to increase your chances of whatever level of success you need in any given situation.
Oh wow. Food for thought. Okay. Um, Trust is the confidence on which business relationships are built, and we don't hear a lot of the T word in this society. Everyone is, we know about all the scam jobs, the con jobs. So trust is something that we're greatly lacking in this society. Could you talk about that quote, please?
In business, trust is key to building relationships. Again, no man or woman is an island, and you're going to need those business relationships to help you achieve what you want to achieve in business. In other words, when you're talking about relationship building, people buy from people. In other words, they buy from you because they like and respect you,
That's right.
and then they buy your product. So they're going to have to buy into your professional image. They're going to have to buy in to your persona and how you have your professional image pulled together before you can even break the ice, if you will, to get to the piece on selling the product that you are setting out to achieve. So therefore, building those relationships are so very important. And you can use, again, that nonverbal communication initially to build those relationships, because in those scenarios you must communicate who you are first
That's right.
and then what you do. So many times we do that in reverse. We talk about what we do, and then we get into so much of the dialogue, people don't remember not even a word you said. So what you want to do is
Back.
develop those power words that's going to define who you are so that people can remember that. And then what you do. And in doing so, using your image and influence, you're able to build those lasting relationships that's going to actually equate into bottom line profits.
Sounds good to me. Another one of your quotes: the greatest accomplishment in life is helping others achieve greatness. Now, that quote, I've been hearing that for years and years and years. When you're younger, like, they don't know what they're talking about. But when you get older, you're like, I get it. Could you talk about that?
Isn't it amazing? You just said, isn't it amazing some of the things that our elders talk with us about when we're
Yeah.
younger? And we didn't see those things
Nope.
until we became older. And many of the young ladies in my nonprofit that I groomed are still connecting with me now on social media and what have you. And they consistently say, Miss Hairston, we now know what you were talking with us about.
Right.
That the greatness, that greatness that you accomplish in helping others be great, that's where your blessing comes from. That quote actually comes straight from the Bible. In other words, so many times we run into people who are trying to place barriers in our way. But in doing so, be careful the barrier you placed in someone else's way, that you don't fall into the trap yourself. If you
Right.
remember the story of Joseph and his brothers in the Bible, where they tried to throw him in the den, but instead of throwing him in the den, they, metaphorically speaking, threw themselves in, because he received the increase. He received the greatness that all of them were seeking. And that's the way life is. Never try to put barriers in the way of someone else's success. One question I always ask in this scenario is, does being around you bring out the best in others, or does being around you bring out the worst in others? If bringing out the best in others is what you possess, then you're going to have positives around you constantly. You're going to have people around you speaking life to you because you are speaking life to them. So, as I said, when you are bringing out the greatness in others, that is the increase for you. That's the increase that the word talks about. That's where your blessing comes from.
Oh, wow. All of that is true. And we're all familiar, I think, with the story of Joseph and all of his trials and tribulations, but he came out on top in the
He
end.
came out on top every time.
Yes, ma'am. Um, Another quote: do not allow others to place their trash in your can. Could you talk about that a little bit?
When I say that, your can does not necessarily mean your trash can. That can means I can, I will, I must succeed at everything I do. I am more than a conqueror. I can keep my eye on the prize of the high calling. let me give you a bit more information as it relates to that. So many times, the reason we don't move forward is we are allowing what other people say, think, and feel about us that keeps us in this place of stagnation.
That's true.
If you find yourself in a place of stagnation, look around you at who your friends are. Look around you at who your associates are. If those individuals are not speaking life to you, if they're always bringing junk, if you will, to you, those are the individuals that you want to love from afar. In other words, and it could even be somebody in your family. That doesn't mean you stop loving those individuals. That means that you emotionally remove yourself from that place so
Right.
that you can become successful and reach the pinnacle of all there is for you to have in life. You can't continue to stay in the ditch with those folks that want to keep you in the ditch.
That's
If you utilize the principles in my book, you are going to rise to the occasion. My mother used to say, the cream always rises to the top. You
Yep.
are going to be the cream that rises to the top, and you're not going to let fear interfere with your ability to remove yourself from those situations that's not speaking life to you.
True statement. We all know people. I mean, I even have a family member who shall remain nameless. Every time you talk to her, nothing is ever going right. When you see her coming, the black clouds are right there on top of her head. And I'm just, and I just started thinking, is there ever anything going right in your life? And I have to, like you said, you have to love people from a distance because all of that will get down into your spirit. And when they leave, you're depressed and you don't know why. That's because they just filled your can up with their
And
problems.
you know what, Lynn, words are powerful.
Yes, they are.
Words can lift you, but words can always demotivate you. And
Yes.
you don't want to put yourself in a place where you're around someone all the time,
No.
continually finding very little to say about anything positive.
Right.
You can't keep yourself in that place. If you keep yourself in that place, you will adopt those behaviors and you will find yourself in that same position. And there are lies where a lot of the depression comes in. There are
Yes.
lies where a lot of the frustration comes in when you feel like, well, I'm not really achieving all that I should be achieving in life. The first thing you need to do is take an assessment and remove yourself from situations and circumstances that are standing in the way of your success. One of my mottos is never allow anyone to stand in the way of your success. And
Right.
again, you may not be able to remove yourself from that situation physically, but you can remove yourself emotionally.
That's right. Sounds good to me. Um, Another quote. Your authenticity is greatness. To greatness is near. Enjoy the ride. Talk about that, please.
Your authenticity to greatness, enjoy the ride. That is what Dynamic Images organization is about. That is what becoming dynamic 7 compelling strategies for success is about. Your authenticity is about the blood, the sweat, the tears, the time, experience, pride, and enthusiasm, and patience, virtue, authenticity, and courage.
Mhm.
That are the fundamental badges and values that leaders possess. And there lies the authenticity that it takes for you to be successful at any and everything you do. Once you put those things in place, I say enjoy the ride.
Okay. Sounds good to me. Um, Another quote, and this is one I've heard um, for almost all my life, and it's pretty poignant. People enter your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And where we get into problems sometimes, people were only meant to be in our lives for a certain season, and we're holding on for dear life. And that's where the problem in that the problems lie. I'm going to let you talk about that.
People enter your life for a season, a reason, or a lifetime. And that is a very strong statement.
Oh, yes.
I want you to know that everybody you meet them for a reason. Now, it could be for the moment. It could be to show you that you don't need to be around them and you don't need to be around situations like that. Or it could be somebody that's going to be an enduring relationship for a lifetime. So the wisdom that comes from above gives you the discernment to know the difference. That's why it's so important not to get too far away from the word.
That's
Because
right.
it gives you the outline to understand and know the difference. When you meet somebody, it may not manifest that moment, but it behooves us to always treat people with dignity and respect no matter who you meet. Because you know what? My mother used to always tell me that, honey, you're not better than anybody else, but you best believe nobody is better than you. I want you to always remember that quote, because when you meet people, those individuals may be there for a reason, a specific reason, maybe to show you the way, maybe to show you what kind of person you don't want to be with.
That's right.
Or that you should not be with. But it is always for a specific reason, season, and hopefully, if it is an enduring situation, it will be for a lifetime.
Wow. Another quote that was excellent, Miss Hairston. Another quote: "Dynamic is what people experience when being in your presence." We would all love to say that, but how can we get to that point?
I help you get to that point. You see, in my book, Becoming Dynamic: 7 Compelling Strategies for Success, when people experience you, you want people to remember that they have had an experience with you.
That's right.
I am in my endeavors, every life that I touch, every client that I have, I want people to see in the demeanor and the professional image of that client that they have been under the tutelage of Elma Hairston and Dynamic Images International, LLC. When people are dynamic, they are people that bring life to you. People that are dynamic are people who have a tendency to bring you up instead of bringing you down. All the things that we've said, Lynn,
Yes,
that preceded everything we've said and can be found in the book, is helping you develop that dynamic persona that people are going to experience when they are in your presence. There lies the first step in building your brand. Because, see, your brand is what people say, think, and feel about you. And you have every opportunity in all that we've talked about to shape what that looks like. See, we must shape what that looks like based on the principles in my book so that you can control the narrative, so that you can control how people think, say, and feel about you. And that's what that dynamic is meaning when people are in your presence. It just don't happen by magic. It does not happen by happenstance.
right.
It happens because you have spent that blood, sweat, tears, time, and experience that I talked about a few minutes ago.
Oh yeah, for sure. Professional image is the external presentation of an internal state of being. Could you talk about that? Because I've been talking to students about that, and even going for interviews, and then actually when they get the job. Could you please? That's very important. And please,
it is so important. Professional image is the external presentation of your inner being. All of what I talk about in my book, your guiding principles, your proven values, your power words, all of those things come together that are placed on the inside of you. Everything that's on the inside of you is going to be shown in your external presentation. Everything that's inside of you, your eyes are the window to your soul.
right?
You can't hide what your eyes, you cannot hide what you're feeling, because people can see it in your eyes, they can see it in your demeanor. So what I'm saying to you is everything that you put inside reflects that external being on the outside. And when it comes to the business that I'm in, we are attempting to utilize the principles in my book to work with whatever is going on the inside, to make sure that what is coming to the external presentation is the authenticity that you bring to every situation, using the impact you make in the professional image that you present.
Oh, wow. That's deep.
It's powerful stuff, Lynn. And you know what I'm bringing to bear, what I'm bringing to market, if you will, is some concepts that people are not aware of, that's
Yeah,
happening to them as we speak.
exactly.
We are not aware most of the time that people are making a decision about us in every single thing we do. They are deciding whether they're going to be kind to us when we walk in a store.
That's
They're
right.
deciding whether they're going to be courteous enough when we're wanting to be a part of the group or a part of the team. It is that external presentation that brings about what's going on in the inside that motivates people to follow. This is what motivates, what
Yeah.
leaders must have externally to motivate people to follow. Those leaders must put all of those values and guiding principles and all of those kinds of things that we help you develop, that's been found in the book, and you are able to reflect that on the outside. There
Right.
lies the key to your success.
That, and again, a lot of what, you're sharing with everyone in the chat, and they're just saying yes, and they're agreeing with everything you're saying. These are, some of the same, you know, quotes or things that I use, statements I use for my students, and because they're quick to say, oh, this is racist or that is racist. And okay, one situation where the guys walk around with their pants down by their knees, and and I tell them, when I see that, okay, first of all, I don't like seeing your underwear. Second of all, you need to go do some research and see where that originated. Okay. And so they're always making excuse, like you said, we got to stop with the excuses. You can't put everything on. It's because I'm black. Look at your presentation.
That
And
is Lynn, that is exactly right. People judge you by
yeah,
your presentation. My
right,
mama used to say, and some of her old quotes, she used to say, if you don't have a dime in your pocket, if you present yourself like you got $1 million in your pocket, people are going to treat you like $1 million.
yes,
So stop blaming. Racism exists. I'm not going to deny that,
it
but
does.
tell your kids stop placing everything on racism and take that responsibility that I talked about without compromise. Stop
Right.
making excuses. And the next thing we were going to talk about is the fact that you are responsible for you. You are responsible for your destiny. Don't
Say it again.
don't put that responsibility off on somebody else. People treat you like you treat you. If
Yes.
you appear to, if your persona appears that you treat yourself well, people are going to treat you well. If your persona, if you're walking around like you don't care, like you said with the kids with the pants hanging down, walking around hair all over your head, yes, hair all over your head, people are going to treat you that way.
Exactly.
So therefore, you don't come this way talking about racism and those kinds of things on things that you can control.
Say it again.
Yes, racism exists, but responsibility for your own personal appearance and your own actions, that responsibility lies on you. So
So
stop it right now, right
right.
here, and take responsibility for the person that you know you have the capability of being. And if you don't know it, experience my tactics, experience my program, and I'll show you how to do it.
Right. And again, now I've been an educator for 25 years. So, I've seen a lot of trends, but that by far is the worst. And, it's sad that, so sometimes they'll suspend students that are continually doing it. Then their parents come up there and they're on the side of the child who's wrong. And so that's an issue as well. But I'm just saying, what I've had students, well, they're race. I said, no. Look at your behavior. I, you know, look at how you're dressed.
Mm-hmm.
You're
Mm-hmm.
walking around with a hood on. Your pants are down to your knees. Of course, people are going to be afraid of you. I said, I'm afraid. And so why? You stop with the excuses and dress decently, and you will be treated differently. And they don't understand. They don't get it.
Well, let's hope they get it, because you know what? You can't go through life not getting it, because if you don't get it, and they need to get it on the level that they're on right now,
Exactly.
you will experience a level of frustration in life like nobody's business. I'm just going to say to you, because so many times that inferiority comes from how you carry yourself.
Exactly.
And you're just fueling the flame with those who perpetrate the inferiority against Black folks.
Right.
Listen to what I just said. We are fueling the flame. We are playing into doing what they expect us to do. Okay. You need to rise beyond expectations and show people who you are, and show people your greatness, so that when you walk into a room, nobody's going to make you feel inferior. I'm going to be honest with you, Lynn. I was at my nephew's play at one of the School of the Arts this past Friday night.
Yes, ma'am.
And those kids did an absolutely phenomenal job. But I saw certain kids walking around, and I looked at them and I said, you know what? There is no way those kids walked around at school all day and their parents allowed them to come out of the house, hair not combed and well kept. No matter if you have a natural style or not unnatural style, keep that hair well groomed and smelling fresh. Okay. The bottom line is, listen to what I'm saying. Okay. And smelling fresh.
Right.
I'm saying that for a reason.
Yeah.
Because I sat in front of a woman behind a woman on Friday night. I paid my money just like she paid her money.
Yes, ma'am.
And the odor, I'm gonna be honest with you, was permeating. Okay. I left. I actually got up and left, because I was not going to sit there and deal with that. I'm not saying that everybody who has their hair a certain way is not taking care of it or is in that particular posture. That's just what I experienced. But I am saying to you, how can we expect our young girls to go to school and compete with their classmates, and they are not in a posture where people are going to respect them? In other words, they are not earning that respect. They're earning that inferiority just by virtue of the fact of the way they're carrying themselves. They can be the smartest kid on the block. But let me tell you something. If you're not exemplifying smart, if you're not exemplifying the image of smart, they're going to treat you just like you are nobody.
Yes.
So that's what I've done in my nonprofit, is to try to help these young ladies and young men to build their confidence and build their courage. And it is all about how they present themselves, the image that they present themselves, how they represent others in their race as well. It's not just about you. You are representing an entire people when you are out in public. And anybody can disagree with me if they want to, but I am a living witness. I worked in corporate America for 25 years. They don't keep you in no position that long. And I saw some things that would just made me sick.
Yeah.
Because people would come in for job interviews and they knew better. But see, what happens is we try to go into organizations and try to change the culture. Honey, that culture existed before you got there.
Right.
It's up to you to work within that culture, within that system, to gain the best benefit out of it. If you want to go into a system and you want to walk in there and you want to change this and change that because this is what's culturally right or look, it takes time for people to move from one level to the other. And you can be the catalyst for that. But the
That's right.
bottom line is, if you think you're going into somebody's corporation and you don't own anything and call the shots about how they're going to do what it is they're going to do, you're kidding yourself, and you'll be one of the first ones to be let go when it's time to fire people or when it's time to lay
And
people
I'm
off.
glad you brought that up. The young lady I'm working with now, very intelligent, takes honors classes, but she's very vocal, and and very nice young lady. And I talk to her a lot. There's a particular teacher she doesn't care for. The teacher's racist, and I'm always telling her, I don't care if the teacher's racist or not. You go in there and keep your mouth shut and do what you're supposed to do. And so, and like I said, very, very intelligent young lady. And there's a quote, I need to get a patent on it, that I have for myself, and I share it with my students. Never fit the narrative that's been created for you.
And
Always.
we're walking right into it. We're walking right into that narrative
That's what I.
every single day.
That's right.
Don't let the
No.
other people determine who you are and what you bring to the table. Be a surprise every day, if you will.
Yeah.
The bottom line is, the one thing you might want to say to that young lady is, well, have you ever tried building a relationship with your teacher? Instead of going into the room, plopping down like you're uninterested, or like you're ready to fight, or you ready to actually help be a sparring
Right.
partner to each other.
Right.
Ask your teacher how was you walking the door and say, good morning, Miss Lynn. How was your weekend?
Right.
How's your family today?
Right.
Did
Exactly.
you have a good day? We are not teaching our children how to conversationalize in a social setting. And most of business is done in a social setting.
Exactly.
So when you learn to articulate and learn how to start a conversation, be a part of that conversation, understand how to gracefully exit that conversation, understand how to make introductions if someone is coming into the conversation.
That's right.
All of those things people are noticing about you.
Yes,
And
they are.
those are things that's going to build your brand and separate you from the crowd.
Yeah. You know what I told her? And I talk to her every day. And one thing I tell her is that, what do they expect you to do? They expect you to be mouthy. I said, do the opposite. Go in there and keep your mouth shut. I don't care if you are being mistreated. I said, guess what, sweetie? In this life, I said, just keep living. Okay. You're going to be mistreated all your life. That's situations happen you have no control over. Go in there, sit down, shut your mouth. You can't get into trouble that way.
And you know what? Stop internalizing stuff
Yep.
that you hear. Okay. She's internalized some of that stuff herself. Okay.
Yes.
Because of stuff she's heard, experienced, whatever.
Right.
Take responsibility without compromise. Here we go again. Responsibility without compromise.
Right.
Take it upon yourself. It is your responsibility to control that narrative. She's allowing that teacher and those people around her to control the narrative.
Exactly.
Control the narrative by changing the environment. First of all, changing your own attitude.
I'm
How
working.
you say, think, and feel about what's going on in the situation. Again, I want you to ask her to try to build a relationship with your teacher. So many times when I used to talk with my youth, if you build a relationship with that teacher, sometimes that relationship can be the difference between an A or B or C or D, because that teacher will go that, if you build that relationship, you go that extra mile. Know your principal, know your counselors. If you have to do nothing but go into your principal's office and say, you know what, can I see Mr. So-and-so today? Go in there and let the principal know, look, my name is Elma Hairston, and I just want you to know who I am. That's all I came in here for today. I'm in the 9th grade. My career aspirations are, I want to do this, I want to do that in the school. If you got some kind of a thing that you want to accomplish in the way things are done at school, in the building, in the cafeteria, bring that stuff to people that can do something about it. What that does is build your brand on that level. So that if somebody hears something about Lynn, they can say, you know, that doesn't sound like Lynn. That doesn't sound like she was a part of that group, because you have proactively built your brand, built your reputation with the powers that be, who in this case would be your principal, your
Right.
counselors, and your sister principal, everybody down the line. You should get to know them. You should get
Exactly.
to know them so they can know you, so they know what you're capable of. I guarantee you, if more of our students would do just that one thing that I said to you, life would be so much better in school, and
Exactly.
you would begin to build. Remember those strategic partners and influencers that I talked about in business?
Yes.
Those same strategic partners and influences are your teachers, your guidance counselors, your principals, and all of those people that make that full circle that come into play whenever you're in school.
Exactly. Exactly. Everything you said, I can't possibly add anything else because everything you
Please mention that to that young lady in particular. Ask her to take the responsibility to try to build a relationship with that teacher. Stop being so argumentative. Stop being so defensive. Stop being so ready to speak what she's
right.
attempting to do. Try a little kindness. Try to ask her teacher questions about go. Just start by walking by and intentionally saying good morning.
That's right.
Good
And
morning.
share that with her. I definitely will. Um, Another excellent quote that you have in your book: maximize possibilities by expanding your comfort zone, which me, I know I need to expand because I get in my little soft, sweet area here and I hate to, so I really need you to talk about that because I need to improve in that area.
You know what? The reason we sometimes are as frustrated as we are is because we are afraid to step out on faith.
That's
We're
right.
afraid to step out. That fear is the reason why we cannot do it. It immobilizes
It
us.
does.
It causes us not to take that next step in our career. Fear, false evidence,
Appearing.
facading as reality. That's all it is. In my book, Marianne Williamson, I use a beautiful quote by our deepest fear. And I'm going to say the first sentence is our deepest fear, as that we are afraid of how successful we can be. We are afraid of success. But what I want you to do is take that first step. If you take that first step, our creator will take that next step for you, and it will move the pendulum in your favor. You
Exactly.
will never know how successful you can be if you don't expand that comfort zone, move outside of the things that you are most comfortable at, and do some things that takes a little bit more effort, that takes a bit more of focus, that takes a bit more of you to make it happen. You are only going to know if you try. See, I never wanted to live my life, or I never want to leave this earth with that should have, could have, would have syndrome.
Mhm.
So many people are constantly saying, I should have done this, I would have done this, I wish I had done that. I want you to be able to say that I should have, I could have, and I did it all. So that when you leave this earth, you are leaving with a confident knowing that you made life better for somebody, that you made things better than they were when you found them. So expand that comfort zone. Have no fear. Have no equivocation about moving forward into those things that you know that are going to actually move your success up just a little higher.
Sounds good to me. um, the difference between failure and success is overcoming fear.
Basically, that's what that is.
Okay.
Fear can cause you not to be as successful as you should or could, because you are afraid to step out and endeavor waters that you've never navigated before. So I'm going to say to each one of you listening to me today, each morning when you get up, I want you to look in front of the mirror and say, I am approaching this day with expectation. Expectation, because I know that if I conduct myself in a way that is pleasing to my creator,
Mhm.
good things are going to happen. Think about this. This was a very simple equation that my mother taught me. She said, if it is good, it is of God. And those thoughts are pure. If it is not good, it is not of God, and you don't even need to entertain it.
Wow.
You don't need to even entertain negativity. That is what I have lived my life by, Lynn. If
Yes.
it is good, it is of God. If it's not good, it is not of God. And you don't need to be a party to anything that is not good.
Yes, ma'am. True statement.
That's your benchmark. That's your determining factor. If your thoughts are good thoughts, you know where those thoughts are coming from. They're coming from a really good place.
Right.
If you put negative thoughts there, those negative thoughts are not coming from a good place.
Nope.
And so many times when those negative thoughts come in, that's when you need to do those affirmations that I talked about the last time. Stand in front of the mirror and say, I can, I will, I must, I succeed at all I do. I'm more than a conqueror. I'm wonderfully made. Okay? I was put on this earth because I am heir to greatness. All of those things are things that you must deprogram those negative thoughts that keep coming into your mind.
Oh,
That's
wow.
the only way you can succeed. If you continue to allow negativity, if you continue to keep negative people in your space,
Yeah.
you cannot be the successful person that you were meant to be when you were placed on this earth. Nobody was meant to be, let me say this unequivocally, nobody was meant to fail all the time. Now, failure helps you become stronger. It
Oh, yeah.
helps you to become better. But you were not put on this earth to stay in a place of negativity and failure. And many times that negativity comes from somebody putting those negatives in your head. You're not this, you're not good enough. You
Exactly.
are good enough. You are good enough. You are wonderfully made. You can accomplish anything you set your mind to. And stop allowing people to limit your destiny. They can only do that if you allow them to do that. If you have to remove yourself from that situation again emotionally, you may not be able to remove yourself physically, but I guarantee you, this mind that we have is a powerful tool. And you can remove yourself emotionally and begin to thrive in those areas that you want to thrive in your life. And once you begin to thrive in your mind, you can manifest it in your spirit and you can execute it in your being.
Exactly. That's deep. Another quote: the most powerful words in our vocabulary are please, thank you, you're welcome, and excuse me, which you and I were speaking earlier. A lot of people don't use them anymore. They just take it for granted. So please expound upon that quote.
Say please. Don't say no problem. When somebody does something, thank you. No problem. Take that out of your vocabulary. That's not even a part of this scenario as it relates to those words.
Oh, wow.
Treat people with decency and respect. I have never seen in my life how people are acting and treating each other just so disrespectful. Well, you see it on airplanes, okay? You
Oh, wow.
see it with parents acting out at PTA meetings over just the simplest kinds of things. How do you expect your children to act when your children can see you acting up on the 6 o'clock news? How do you think you can tell your child how to act when they see you acting up? When you say you have parents coming down to the school talking this kind of dialogue that's not connected to anything but their thoughts about something.
Miss
Children
Harris.
have a way. I'm not saying children, not saying anybody lies, but children have a way of interpreting things in a child's mind.
Right.
We sometimes give kids a permission to be miniature adults. Kids aren't miniature adults. Kids' minds have not matured to the level that adults' minds are mature. And some kids take 20, 25 years old before they actually get to the
Right.
level of maturity that they need. So children are going to tell a version of the situation in a different way than an adult just by virtue of the fact of how their mind works. So it's
Exactly.
up to us individual adults to listen to both sides of the story, the teacher's side of the story and the child's side of the story, and come up with some consensus on really what happened. Don't just take your child's word for it and run down to the school and get into somebody's face over something that has been interpreted by your child. Sit down, get the facts, talk about it, and come up with a strategy that you're going to proactively prevent it from happening again.
Miss Hairston, I'm glad you mentioned that. And obviously, in a 25-year career, I've had that happen several times. And sometimes when the parents come up, to the school, and I've taught at different school districts across the state, um, you look at them and you say, okay, now you're thinking in your head, I see why your child acts the way that they do. Um, I've even, parents come up there and cursing like a sailor, and I just sit there. I don't say a word, and this is what I tell my students: if you walk away, don't engage. I said I'm too intelligent to engage in a conversation with someone who's using vulgar terms and profanity. Why would I give them any energy? I don't. And I'm glad you mentioned that. Like I said, parents do it all the time, as if we're against their child. And trust me, as busy as we are, we have better things to do than try to come up with something to pick on your child. We don't have that kind of time. We really don't. So I'm glad you brought that up. Each teacher um, goes through that from time to time in their career. So um, again, we
And
see.
don't give people control. This is why I tell kids anger is one letter from danger.
Yeah.
Don't let someone else control
Yep.
your narrative. If you had responded, they would be controlling you.
Uh-huh.
So let them vent, let them say what they say, and try to, after they finish that, try to get to some level of, let's talk about what this is really about.
Right.
I'm gonna lay this out the way it happened. I respect what you're saying, although you may not have respected me with the profanity, but I respect what you're saying.
Right.
I respect the fact that your child is a student at the school here. However, let's talk about what happened so that we can develop a resolution and proactively move in a direction so that it doesn't happen again. See, what I used to do in my etiquette training classes, my classes was not a babysitting program. The mothers came to the classes as well. Because I can't teach your child something and they go home and do the opposite.
Right.
I can't teach your child the right knife, spoon, and fork, and you go home and let them eat with whichever way they want to eat. So
Right.
therefore, what I did in my program, I would actually assign the mothers different things to do. Some of the mothers had to call other mothers to make sure they were going to be present. They helped me with setting the files up for the kids. So you can't ask people to come and just sit and do nothing. So everybody had something to do. Everybody felt that they had an important role, which was the first
Right.
thing. And then the second thing, as we did the workshops, the mothers actually input, answered questions, and observed so that whenever situations come up, they were being trained how to handle those situations because they were in like people, I said in the beginning, people do what they know. Some
Yes.
of these parents were not treated how to communicate. They were not trained, trained how to communicate. They were not trained as to how to act.
Right.
They just weren't trained. And we can't expect somebody to teach what they haven't been taught. So
Exactly.
it's up to us to serve as an example as we're attempting to try to communicate and build a consensus around what actually happened. We are sometimes the only Bible that people see. You might think that you're sitting there not saying anything, may not make an impact, but listening to that mother and empathizing in your mannerisms, empathizing and just being quiet, letting her vent, that is more powerful than anything you could ever say.
And she actually, and I'm sure you've seen this, when you won't engage, they get louder and angrier. And she started the curse words. She got louder. She started using more curse words. And then the principal was walking by and he heard all that profanity. Again, I was just sitting there. and he nicely asked her to leave. So now, and I, as I tell my
And I'm glad they intervened, because
right,
nothing could have. No,
right,
see, if people don't know better, they don't do better. And she
right.
did what she know.
But what if I had been there cursing up a storm like she was? I'm no better than she is. And she
That's
came
true.
up, hey, if you come up to the school to talk about your child and you're in your pajamas and you have tattoos all over, looking, oh man, it's just a mess. Oh, I'm just saying, you know,
You know what? She just does. You just have to write it off, Lynn, as she just doesn't know better.
right.
I have to believe that if people knew better, they would do
They would,
better.
oh yeah,
But she don't know. She didn't. That's all that. And just think that the sad thing about it is she's bringing up that child in that environment with all that profanity and all this stuff. And then you wonder, when a child speaks profanity, you want to
yeah,
get on their case. But you know what? If that's what they've been brought up around, good, bad, and different, that's the environment that we're dealing with now.
exactly, exactly. Um, your last quote was, body language speaks louder than words. And that's a very true statement. Could you please talk about that? And people in the chat section, if you have any questions, you can go ahead and put those in the chat and I'll read those out for you. Okay.
Body language is so powerful. Yes, we have that verbal communication, but that nonverbal communication, it's in my workshops and in my and I want everybody to know on the call that I have individual consultations and group workshops that we do at Dynamic Images International LLC. And in that, we actually have an exercise that we go through, that if a person makes a specific facial expression or a expression with their body, their hands, or what have you, we actually have people identify what comes to mind when they see that particular expression. I also have a communication assessment to have you understand how you communicate, so that it better helps you communicate with others, get more
Right.
effective mileage out of communicating with others. But body language is so powerful. Body language can make people have an affinity for you, or they can make people not have an affinity for you. Attitude sometimes comes through with the expression on your face. Attitude sometimes comes through with how you use your hands, the mannerisms that you utilize, the voice inflection or the voice thereof. I teach people that you can motivate people to a yes by your voice.
That's right.
You can motivate people to a yes by your nonverbal communication. I go through a whole process for what does it mean when you lean forward? When you lean forward, it means you are engaging. When you lean back, that means you are unengaging.
That's right.
When you cross your legs, what does that mean? When you cross your ankles, what does that mean? Okay. If you do a thumbs up, most of the time you know what a thumbs up means. What does that mean? We go through all of those mannerisms and those body language movements that happen in life, so that you become conscious that that is one of the branding tools, that is one of the tools that people are using to create the brand that you want to have of you. And hopefully it's all positive as it relates to how you're communicating, whether it's verbally or nonverbal.
Oh, wow. Okay. Um, so everyone in the chat is just basically saying great advice. Um,
If they want my book, Lynn, they can go to www.dynamic-images4you.com, and there's a book page on there.
I have,
They,
like I
they
did with
can, yeah,
video.
they can go up, they can go on YouTube, and they can find excerpts of all the things that I talk about in all of the talks I've done over the years. And there's just a wealth of information out there. At Hairston Speaks is my social media handle. If you want to follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, please do. And as usual, Lynn, I just thoroughly enjoy these opportunities. For the most part, yes, to make people aware of my book, but more than anything else, is just to be able to embellish and to effectively bring to
Right.
life how people feel about their life, and take a look at how they might be able to enhance their life to always present their best self. And with
Yeah.
dynamic images, basically, is success that's always been there for the taking, but dynamic images refines, becoming dynamic actually refines those qualities that are already in existence that you currently have.
All right. We have a question in the chat section from Annie. Annie says, how can you learn to always make a powerful impact? Good question, Annie.
The way you can learn to make a powerful impact is in my book, there are worksheets. And when you work through, for example, if if you're looking at how do I embellish my value system, I want people to see the integrity of my work, the integrity of my being, the honesty, and all those kinds of things. Well, in that worksheet in the book, it calls out for you to write down and internalize situations on the job, situations in life, situations in the community that causes you to have your honesty to show, that shows your integrity. And once you begin to write them down and internalize them, you begin to take on those behaviors that you've identified. And once you begin to take on those behaviors, you act on those behaviors in everything you do.
Right.
So that's how you're able to develop a guiding principle. One of the guiding principles, for example, in the book is something like duty. Duty is a guiding principle for an organization. Duty means you're doing what you do because you're supposed to be where you are and doing whatever it is you're paid to do, for example.
That's right.
That's a guiding principle. That principle, that duty, guiding principle of duty guides the barometer as to what you do when you get to work every day. So
That's
therefore, on that worksheet that's in the book, if duty is one of the guiding principles, you identify places where you execute duty. Impeccability is one of those words under guiding principles. Impeccability. How do you leverage impeccability? There are examples in there for you to identify how you do that. For example, if you were at a meeting, and I use this in the book, and you're passing out handouts, if those handouts are not in a binder, professionally done, if people find typos, or if people see that it's not a representation of the organization, that's going to show that you
right.
really didn't have the level of impeccability that was expected of you. So those worksheets calls to your attention. It calls out those kinds of things that you can put examples of how you could better do something or how you might handle a particular situation. So the book is not only a book that you read from front to back. On page 19 in the book, you have 19 questions that you answer. Those 19 questions is a before you start assessment. That assessment gives you a plan for your life. It gives you a plan for the person that you want to be. And then once you move through the book, you begin to use those different worksheets to refine the individual that you are, to refine those qualities and begin to take on those behaviors that help you to make better choices and better choices in the situations in which you find yourself, whether it's in your personal life or your business life or your community life or your political life, anywhere in the marketplace, if you will.
Yeah, and again, those of you who weren't with us from the beginning, I started reading the book and just excellent, excellent information. What I'm going to do, like I did with the first interview, I'll put the information down for her book. And again, I'm going to sign up for some of her services, me being a content creator here on YouTube. And she's all about branding. So I will be utilizing her services as well. Okay. So that I can continue to build my brand. Okay. I'm only a few years out from retirement with my state employee's job. So uh, I'm glad I started, becoming a content creator on YouTube. So like I said, I'm going to try to continue to build. And I, any of you who want to order her book, again, I'll have the links. I'll have everything at the in the description box. I have to go and add all of that since we just had to start another stream. I don't know what happened. We had some technical difficulties there in the beginning, but thank goodness we were able to clear everything up. And thank God you guys all stuck around. How you doing, Spiky? And
Well, Lynn, you might mention that the book is only $14.95, and it is priced that way because $14.95 is a small, plus shipping and handling, of course, but is a very small investment in making sure that you're getting off to the start that helps you remain at the top of your game no matter where you are. That helps you rise to the occasion, the cream rise to the top, that will help you be your best self in whatever environment that you find yourself in.
Right, exactly. And I see Annie. Yes, Annie, give me time to, since I had to start a new stream, give me about 10-15 minutes once I end the stream. I'll have all the information, and all of you that are interested, I'll have it, where you can click on the link if you want to order her book. Again, I've started reading the book. It's an excellent read, and we can all benefit from all the excellent information that she actually has in the book. So, just give me a few minutes. I got to copy and paste and put the links, everything that you need. I also have her YouTube channel and all that good stuff. And I think I have your Facebook handle. I think if I don't, I'll add that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So Miss Hairston is just been wonderful. And again, she makes you reflect, even if you were taught and raised the right way. Like a few minutes ago, Miss Hairston, Charlotte said, "Thank you, Roland. I normally put NP. I didn't put no problem this time. I put you're welcome." So we all have, fallen into using the shorthand from texting and all of that. And so I thought you'd be proud of me, Miss Hairston. I said, "You are welcome." I did not put NP. So I am learning from your book, and I'm learning from you. So I'm trying to change my terrible ways.
Well, they're not your terrible ways. They're just learned behaviors. And
Right.
The information you find in the book is learned behaviors. You're just changing and refining how you conduct business with yourself. And if you conduct business in a very organized way with yourself, you're going to be able to conduct that business in a way that's going to affect your bottom line, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're someone that's employed by an organization. Even within that organization, you will begin to redefine who you are. People will look at you
Yeah.
and they will notice that there's something different about you. And what is it that's different about you? You're not doing things the way they expect you to do them as an African American woman or as an African American male. You are moving outside of the realm of expectation. You're moving outside of the realm of ordinary, and you're embarking on that level of extraordinary. And that extraordinary is who you were intended to be.
Exactly. Let's see if we have any more questions in the comment section. Kate said she's going to be ordering the book. So Kate, I know you're just coming in. If you would give me a few moments, once I end the stream, I'll have all of the information in the description box so that you can order. So those of you who do want to order the book, please use the link that I share. Instead of, we're not Mr. Bakos, whatever his name is, the billionaire of Amazon. We're not going to make him any richer. All right. So.
Order from my website, Bezos. Order from my website, please. There might be a book or two at Amazon, but quite frankly, people that have their stuff in Amazon, unless you're selling tons and millions and millions and millions of product, is where you really make a profit margin. And that is not happening as it relates to me, because you all, the only way that can happen is you start buying my book. And because that book has so much great content in it. And at speaking engagements, I've gotten several speaking engagements booked. If you know of someone that needs someone to speak at a women's group or conference or church or wherever, please let them know about me and what I am attempting to do in just enhancing the lives of everybody I touch.
Well, you are definitely doing that, Miss Hairston. And again, I know how busy you are, and we all want to thank you. Patricia, join us here. How you doing? We all want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. And hey, maybe when you have some more time you can carve out, we'll have you back on. Okay?
I tell you what, the next time I'm on, I'm going to be talking about the book by William Doherty, Doherty and Color. And this is a book that I'm going to suggest everybody needs to read. William Doherty and Kristen Mullen. It is called From Here to Equality.
Okay.
And that book talks about reparations for Black Americans in the 21st century.
Okay.
And I want a platform for this book, not only because of this book, but this is a history lesson. It actually lets us know what really happened to us.
Wow.
How our wealth was stolen from us.
It was. It
Okay.
was.
And every time we became self-sufficient, our dwellings, our buildings, our businesses were burned to the ground, because it was always intended for us to be slaves.
That's right.
It was always intended for us to be slaves. It was always intended for us to be inferior by virtue of the fact of the narrative. They control the narrative. They control the laws that were put into place. The federal government has on numerous occasions in history tried to grant land, and wealth is found in land, grant land to African Americans, abductees from the shores of Africa, slaves to be exact.
Yeah.
And every time land was tried to be granted to us, it was taken from us by white America. And you must face the reality, it was taken from us.
Yeah.
Okay. We had Union soldiers who served in the Union in the Civil War, and they were promised land. But when they finished serving, that promise was never kept. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So you know, the Union won the war, but the South won the battle. And believe it or not, y'all, they're still winning the battle by virtue of the fact of the deprivation in our schools, in our economy, in all of that defines life for Black folks. It's all being taken away by the laws that are placed on the books, because folks don't want to move into the future.
No.
They want to keep things the status quo.
Right.
And somebody's got to take responsibility. You hear many people, let me communicate this last thing, Lynn.
Okay.
You hear people saying, well, I didn't do that. You know what? You're complicit by the fact that you are living off of the benefits and the privilege that your forefathers were given. Land was actually given to whites by the federal government. Okay.
Yeah.
Much of the land that property is built on right now today, that land was not paid for by white America. That land was given to them by the federal government. It was granted by the federal government, but they didn't grant any of it to us. And when they did try to grant anything to Black people, laws were made so that we couldn't be landowners.
Oh, yeah.
So you've got white America right now living off of the prosperity from that land that was given to them. You are heirs to your great, 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 great grandparents. So don't tell me you're not responsible. You are responsible because you're living off of the benefits that came from that free labor
Yep.
that we encountered back in the day.
Oh,
So everybody, Black, white, you need to educate yourself to the history of what really happened. And this is not just this gentleman talking. He wrote this book on history that already exists. So you can't say somebody's talking something they don't know. That he's talking from history that's already happened. He's just
oh,
chronicled it into one book.
oh my goodness. So we'll talk about
We'll talk about that in another broadcast, Lynn.
and
But people need to be made aware.
I want you to talk about what you're doing so far as reparations are concerned, what you're trying to do for the High Point community.
Well, I will be happy to do that. We're
Okay.
making some strides, and I'll be
Okay.
happy to do that.
All right. Well, Chef Finest Wine says he can't wait to meet you. Everyone is saying yes. They want to know what you have to say about the reparations, you know, what you're doing so far as that's concerned. So we'll have to get together, excuse me, and set up another interview. And I'll try to get my hands on that book and read.
Please, because Lynn, as you said, it's not what about I'm saying. It's about you knowing.
Right.
And the only way you're going to know what really happened to our people, the atrocities are of such a magnitude, you will begin to cry. Men or women, I've had men and women actually have tears to their eyes when they hear about the atrocity, about what human beings have the capacity to do to other human beings. It's just not, you just can't even imagine some of the things that happened to our forefathers. And see, the reason you're not living this now is because you're living the dream. You're living off of the price that was paid before you.
Right.
You need to understand that price, and you need to understand who leveled those atrocities against your people, and
Right.
who's responsible for taking care of those atrocities that were leveled against your people. And the only way you're going to know that, see what you've been told. See, even white America has been told a lie.
Yes.
They are told that their parents worked for what they got. I'm discounting some of the things that they worked for, don't get me wrong, but I'm talking about back in 1865, 1858.
Yeah.
When they were actually giving out land, and land was parallels wealth. They were granting that land to your forefathers. They were so you're living off of the benefit of that land that was granted to them this day. You're living off of, you're an heir to that. Black people weren't given any land, so what are they an heir to?
Nothing.
400 years, we're an heir to 400-year head start that they got that we didn't get.
Yeah.
And the only way you're going to learn this, y'all, you got to read. You got to open up a book and read. I thought I knew my history very well, but I didn't learn. I didn't understand that how much I didn't know about history until I started reading this book.
That's right.
Michael Eric Dyson, Performing Black in America, has a phenomenal book out as well. That book has a lot of depth to it.
Yeah, he's pretty good. Dr.
So you all, we got to get in these books. We got to read, because some of the responses that I hear even us making, there's a section in the book that talks about the Pew research. And much of that research starts with us. We're not even aware of what is happening to us. We think things are on even keel. Things are not on even keel. They've never been, and they're never going to be.
Right.
But anyway, that's another topic for another time. Lynn, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate this opportunity. And I will sign off if all is well.
There's another book, I don't know if you've read, by was it James Lowen, about sundown towns, and he actually has an excellent video here on YouTube. I need to find it and share that with you. And he says a lot of the same things that you said. I think the name of his book is Lies My Teacher Told Me, and he's Caucasian. And he's saying a lot of the, well, he just passed, I think, in 2020, but he said a lot of the same things in his book that you just mentioned. So
Yeah, people have been lying. See, that's why they want to take a lot of this history stuff out of schools, because they are their kids have been told a lie.
we've all been lied to.
We've all been lied to. We have been lied to, and history has been put forth in the colloquial term, his story.
Right.
It is his story. And whatever that his is, it could be his story from the Black perspective, his story from the white perspective, but it's not the history that defines who we are, that defines our past, so that we don't commit any of that as we move along. If you don't know your history, it is destined to repeat itself.
It will. It really.
And some of it right now, Lynn, I'm sorry. I'm not going to apologize, but some of that history is repeating itself as we speak.
You're right. And you're right.
And we're not even aware of it. It seems new to us, but if you read the book, it's the same old, just a different day.
That's it. Same old bull, different day.
Different day.
Right. So,
well, thank you, my love. I will see you next time.
Thank you.
Time is, and you tell me, I'll sign off whenever you tell me to sign off.
Okay, there's one last statement from BT, and it's the history that they're protecting with these awful laws. Yeah, so BT, Annie says thank you. Everyone in the chat enjoyed you, ready for you to come back. So I'll text you and we'll see. Definitely want you to come back and talk about that book. And maybe we won't have any technical difficulties next time. So,
well, that's all right. If we do, we'll just start over like we just did. Because you know what? Life is unpredictable. Sometimes the things happen, and you just have to keep on rolling, not miss a beat.
With the punches.
Just keep rolling with the punches, because life is going to hand you a bunch of stuff that seems insurmountable. But I'm here to tell you, you are a conqueror, and you are up to the challenge.
Thank you so much. And lastly, Patricia Joyner says, please vote. So
please vote. Vote. I just became precinct chair of my precinct. I am sending out a first of its kind communication to all 400 and some odd people that's in my precinct.
Oh, okay.
Call a meeting. So I'm planning on making that meeting be a springboard to start some discussion on some of these topics that need to be discussed in the white community and the Black community.
Okay.
We need to have a meeting of the minds and come together, and we may not agree, but at least we can have a meeting of the minds.
That's right. So I'll be reaching out to you, trying to schedule another time that we can come together, because I really want you to come talk about that book. So
yes.
Thank you for being here, and just keep doing the great work that you're doing. Your other video is doing well. This one will do well, also. So just keep doing what you're doing.
Well, I thank you for providing the venue. And it's wonderful that you already have your life's work in place, or your life after teaching. Like I had my life after corporate America.
Right.
Everybody should be planning long-term that when you finish your career, that doesn't stop. It literally starts the next phase of your life, so that you don't become stagnant, so that you don't become irrelevant, so that you always remain relevant and on top of your game, no matter what age, no matter what maturity, no matter what, you are continuing to grow and to read and to be the best person you possibly can be, because these years will creep up on you before you know it.
Exactly. And Tina and Leslie says, if they don't do their job, vote them out. Correct. So thank everyone who came in to support Miss Hairston here, giving us some excellent information. Again, those of you who came in late, give me a few moments as YouTube is processing the video. I'll have her links, all her information down at the bottom, so that you can reach out to her on all forms of social media. And I'll have her link for her book. I've started reading it. It's an excellent read. I'm on spring break this week, so I will be reading. Hopefully I'll get to finish it. Okay.
All right.
So
thank you so much.
Thank you. Enjoy
Bye-bye.
your Sunday, and I'll be reaching out to you shortly.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
Goodbye.
you.